plus hip hop. I don't know where they at. It ain't even up no more. But
Okay.
you gave me this dope interview about how Brand New being started, about running with Max when he was, with Masters of Ceremony. It was dope. If it was still up, I could just use that. Like literally, it was that dope. So I got to reach out and start all over. So anyway, bottom line is, I don't know if you know, I got the newspaper Black Westchester. You know what I'm saying? Covering the black news in Westchester, keeping the elected officials' feet to the fire, speaking truth to power, all that good stuff.
Good,
But
good.
I'm working on my book now, celebrating 914 hip hop from the 914. So, of course, y'all got to be in it. You know what I'm saying? So
now you from LI, right?
Now, actually, I'm born in Mount Vernon.
So, but you from the JBC force, yes?
Yeah, I moved to, my mother's moved me to Long Island when I was 7.
Okay,
my parents
so
got
living
divorced.
in CI, who the hell am
Yeah,
I?
that's me. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was living out there at 7. My parents broke up, drove my mother crazy. She moved me back to Mount Vernon to my dad. So I went to high school here, and then I was back and forth. So when I went back out there,
when was you in Mount Vernon? Like what years were you going to high school?
Class 84. So
you before, you way before me.
Yeah. So, but I used to run, and I was running through New Rochelle, with Pete Red and Richard Dixon.
Rich Dixon.
Yeah. That's my cousin. Yeah, so I was with all of them. You know what I'm saying? Big Ben, big dude that played football. They used to call him Gentle Ben. Yeah. Looked mean as hell, but it was like the coolest dude in the world. And y'all had it.
No doubt.
I think I had a security guard named Barry. Was it Barry? There was a security guard named Barry. Was it Barry?
They worked in the mall?
No, in the high school.
Oh, see, I never made it to the high school shit. I went to alternative school shit.
So
but I used to hang out there sometimes.
Yeah, I spent as much time in New Rochelle High School as I did at Mount Vernon High School, unfortunately.
Yeah, I used to hang out in Mount Vernon High School too and shit,
So then I went back to Long Island after high school. And then these younger cats that was in the neighborhood started doing their thing. My boys brought me to a party. You know what I'm saying? I started rhyming with them and it sounded good. And the next day we was making demos. Like it was like literally like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I got into the game out there, but I'm from Westchester. I'm Mount Vernon.
I just recently sampled that beat. And I was thinking about putting that like I was thinking about just doing the whole shit over. Like, but I did it a little iller. Like I added the bass line to it. And
that's what's up. That's what's up. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to recreate what it is. I'm sure it's gonna be totally different, but the beginning of Brand Nubians, before Brand Nubians, Max is running around with Master of Ceremony, and you like kind of running with him a little bit, and you was telling me that story, like how he was like the local superstar in the neighborhood, and he was wearing your gold chains or something. And you told me the whole story.
So you're saying you want me to just
just
go back to the beginning?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the first time I met Pooh Bah, let me start from there.
Yeah.
So Pooh Bah's a little bit older than me. You know what I mean? He's probably more in your age range, like Rich Dixon. That's his cousin.
Yeah. I just turned 57, so to give you
so there you go. I'll be 55 in September.
Okay.
So again, Pooh Bah's a little bit older than me. I remember going to my man LJ, and LJ was the same age as me, and he was like a DJ from New Row, and I used to go to his crib a lot. And in his crib, he had a flyer, one of the boys club flyers, and on the flyer was a picture of Grand Pooh Bah Maxwell. You know what I mean? Like, and by this time, like, he was known for like the Trey Bag MCs, but on this flyer, he was just by himself. Like, and he was kind of being known as like Grand Pooh Bah. You know what I mean? Even though he was running with other people and shit. So I'm just like, this is back in the days when I'm like, damn, I can't wait till I'm on a flyer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just being on a flyer was like some fly shit. It was crazy. So that's my first time, like, really like seeing what he looked like, and you know, and that was a big deal. And then they came out with a record called Crime, okay, which was before Sexy and all of that. And I was like, I'm not gonna say today years old, but I just found out very recently that Teddy Riley produced that record.
I just heard that he was doing someone told me I had to add him to the book because he did some early stuff.
Teddy Riley did so much early shit. Like, I heard Teddy Riley used to produce records for sneakers and shit like that. Like, he was so talented as a little kid. I'm talking, he was probably like 16 maybe at this time. You know, he did Rap's New Generation and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
And then the show and all that.
I just found out I think he did some early Hev stuff or something. He did some.
All of that shit sounds like his shit. Like, all that Heavy D shit was his. But I'm talking Crime.
Yeah.
That was like way early. Like, that's before all of that shit. So anyway.
What group now? Was that his solo or was that a group?
No, he was in the Master of Ceremonies at that time.
Oh, this was Master of Ceremony. Okay.
Master of Ceremonies. But that was a record that didn't really, you had to be from New Rochelle to know about that.
Right, because I have to go look that up because I can't remember it by hearing the name. I don't remember.
Crime must be on Crime. You know, that's when.
Now, actually, that sounds familiar. I just might not have never knew the name.
People had positive, you know, that was around the time of like Problems of the World Today. You know what I mean? Like when rap had message songs, you know, like
right.
I don't even know if you call that conscious rap now that I think about it, but it was. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's like that in a way was conscious rap. You understand? But that's the way it is. Like, all of that type of like, that's what Crime was in that vein. You know what I mean? So anyway, when I was a DJ at the time, you know what I mean? That's how I got into this shit. Like, I was known in New Rochelle as a DJ first. Like, you know what I mean? I'm talking like a zigga behind my back type of DJ. Okay. So, but I'm in that next wave, you know what I mean? That younger wave of hip hop. Yeah, my shit's probably out of sync. I don't know why StreamYard does this, but my video is not in sync with the audio right now. Anyway. So one of my mans that lived in the
just so you know, I'm doing this for the book, so I'm just getting the notes for the book. But every now and then, I know you're gonna say something that's gonna be a drop that I'm gonna use to promote the book. You know what I'm saying? Like a little small clip, you know, that you in the book. You know, so
gotcha. So
the whole video will never be seen by the public. So
cool, because I didn't want you to have to resync it and all that. That's a pain.
Nah.
So anyway, so yeah, one of my mans who lived in his projects, Pooh Bah was doing a party, or he needed to do a party, and one of his turntables went down or something, and he was in need of a turntable. And so one of my mans was like, well, yo, I know a dude that, you know, DJ, he got some equipment and shit. You know what I mean? Maybe he'll let you use his shit. You know what I mean? So Pooh Bah, not knowing me and nothing, but homie gave my phone number, called me up on the house phone, you know, and he's like, yo, this is Grant. I'm like, Grant, Pooh Bah, like, for real? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how the fuck you get my number type of shit? Like, so, yo, whatever, your man, boom, bam, boom, yo, I need to, you know, hold the turntable or whatever. Hell yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so I let him hold the turntable and shit. Got it back, and then, you know, was cool or whatever. So now I know him kind of, like, you know what I mean? Right. And then, so, you know, I was one of these dudes back then, like, if any hip hop was going down in New Rochelle, I wanted in. You know what I mean? If a break beat is getting sold in the park, I want in. If there's a freestyle cipher going on, I want in. You know what I mean? So I'm running up on all kind of shit. You know what I mean? High school parties, block parties, boom, 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 boom. So one day there's a block party out in Lincoln Park, and some dudes that usually be hating on me sometimes. You know, you might go to the mic, yo, let me get on the mic, and the nigga front or whatever. You know, he want to keep his men more. You know what I mean? With the shine. But on this particular day, he let me get on the mic and shit. You know what I mean? So as soon as I grab the mic and it's my time to go, I see Pooh Bah and Doctor Who walking into the park.
Todd, yeah, yep, his cousin.
Perfect timing type of shit. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? And I'm spitting my shit. You know what I mean? And I'm killing it right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is some advanced level, you know, like you could tell that I be in a city type of shit. Like, this ain't just no regular New Rochelle type of nigga.
Right.
So, boom. As I'm doing it, I see Pooh Bah pointing, talking, you know, hitting Doctor Who and like, yo, that's my man I was telling you about. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I finished the shit. You know what I mean? I play it cool. I kind of maybe walk in a direction, but I don't like walk right to the nigga. And then he come to me like, yo, what up? You know what I mean? And he's like, yo, I want to work with you type of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what's up.
I'm just like thinking in my mind, like, yes, this is, you know what I mean? This is my plan coming together right now. You know what I mean? So from that point on, I was like his little protege in a way. You know what I mean? Like I'm his little man. Like, you know what I mean? We go into the studio. That was basically inside the Carrington Arms, inside his man's crib or whatever, this dude, Billy Brickle and shit. He had some equipment in the bedroom type of shit. And we going back there. Like how to listen for samples and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like Pooh Bah taught me how to hear the sample when it plays. You know what I mean? Like I already was a DJ, so I had an ear for music, but it's like you can kind of tell that magical part when the record plays, like, you know what I mean? And he was showing me how to take it from a certain part to a certain part and then connect that and then make it a thing. You know what I mean? Even though we wasn't fully, I guess he was a little bit, but at the time I wasn't really touching the buttons type of shit, but I'm just mentally getting a understanding of how all this shit works. Like, you know, and now I'm trying to produce my own shit and all of that. You know what I mean? And I had a couple joints that was that was dope at that time. I had this one joint called The Live Spot. That was the shit at that time. But anyway, so yeah, so they start jumping off, like, you know what I mean? Like Master Ceremony start jumping off, Sexy and Crack Out starts popping, like, you know what I mean? And these dudes is doing shows and shit like that. Now, at the time, I'm a little hustling type of dude. You understand what I'm saying? So I got the fucking gold chains, I got the leather jackets and all of that type of shit. And I'm just a cool, fly nigga. You know what I mean? Like, and I had knowledge of self, like, you know what I mean? So when it came time, they start doing shows and shit, and he's taking me to shows and shit like that. And yeah, he would be like, but see, it ain't like he ain't had some of his own shit too, but he'd be like, yo, you know what I mean? Let me rock that chain. So he's really looking crazy with it. His chain with my chain, now he's looking like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like Dookie Man. I remember I had the ill like aviator leather with the shearling inside, you know what I'm talking about? Like, with the shearling cuffs and the shearling collar and all that type of shit. Yo, let me rock that. Say no more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just happy to be there type of shit. Them dudes took me to Boston one time to a show. You know what I mean? I met a broad at the show, knocked her off downstairs. It was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I was just happy to be there type of guy. In the midst of all of this, I had already met Derek X. we're like the same age. And so I met him in like a cipher that was going down at the library. People used to hang out outside the library. And there's a lot of hip hop shit going on at the library back then. So I age in New Rochelle, but then when I heard X's voice and shit, I was like, ooh, he's kind of, you know what I mean? That boy, nice. I had respect for him. And then so one day, Pooh Bah, he had been working with me for a while, and he was like, yo, I met this kid, man, Derek X, like, you know what I mean? I was like, yo, you should fuck with him. Like, yo, he's nice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, all right, yeah, that's what's up, you know? I guess he kind of was just checking in, see if I
And at that time, Derek X is working with Songmaster or something. I think he's trying to do some stuff.
Yeah, he was running with Cheetah Speed and all them type of dudes. Like that was, and Cheetah Speed was my man because we played youth tackle league, you know what I mean, back in the days. And yeah, we was on the same team. Our coach actually had died on the field. You know, like that was some traumatic shit. Like, yeah, Coach Flowers, rest in peace. He died on the field during a real ill game at halftime. He just crossing the field and just dropped, had a heart attack, died. That shit was mad traumatic to us. Anyway, so me and Speed was cool since then. But then Speed started rhyming and shit like that. And, you know, we all knew each other type of shit. But certain niggas rock with, you know, they on one side of town, I'm on the other side of town. And, you know, the niggas I rock with don't necessarily rock with them. Not that we got beef, but it's just like y'all hang out with who you hang out with and we hang out who we hang out with. And I was more with the gods at that time. Like, we wasn't really rocking with 85s like that. You know what I mean? Like, we was just strictly with the gods type of shit. So anyway, I was aware of X. He brought up X, and I'm like, yeah, he's dope. You know what I mean? Now, all the while, you know, I'm secretly wanting to be in master ceremonies. I'm like, man, if I was in this group, we'd be out of here. We'd be out of here. Like, I would just bring a certain sensibility to this shit that I feel it needs. You know what I mean? That we don't have right now. So anyway, after time goes on, the group breaks up. You know what I mean? I already was seeing little shit because the reggae dude, Don Barron, wasn't really in the group, but
I was going to ask you that because I was going to talk to him. Was he a part of the group or just on those songs?
That's what I'm saying. He was not a part of the group, but it seemed like he was part of the group, and he kind of should have been a part of the group. That probably would have been better in a way. But he was a solo artist, and he got very big-headed off of that one single, man. And yeah, I just saw the inner turmoil. I saw ego very early with dudes, and you know what I mean? Like, I was like, wow. And then the whole shit just kind of disbanded, you know what I mean? And I just remember Pooh Bah, you know, just being like, damn, you know, what a motherfucker do now, you know what I mean? And I feel like he don't remember, but I'm telling you, it was me that said, because I always wanted to be in Master Ceremony, I said, yo, man, I'm telling you, me, you, and we should get fucking Derek X. Yo, we should be a group, bro. I remember we was in the mall. We was right in front of there was this record store right across from Macy's, and we was walking, and we just happened to be crossing in front of this fucking record store when I fucking proposed that. I remember my man Just was trailing behind us. It was just me and Pooh Bah, though, just talking at this moment. And then he's just like, word. He's like, yeah. You know what I mean? It was almost like a light bulb flashed on. You know what I mean? And then from there, you know, the next times now I'm talking to him, he's like, yo, come on, we need to go downtown. We got some meetings and shit with some record companies. We ain't even got no music.
Wow.
We ain't got no music. We don't have a name or nothing like that. But niggas know Pooh-Bah. You know what I mean? He has, from the master of ceremony shit, he has now people looking at him. You know what I mean? So we didn't go to a whole bunch of places, but we went to a few places, and then we ended up at Tommy Boy, which was a place that, shit, hell yeah, we would want to be there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Based on their previous track record, and I think they just dropped De La Soul at this time. So we're like, wow.
Wait, no, y'all came out before De La, didn't y'all?
No, I don't think so. No.
Well, okay, so we came out 88. De La, because they was in Long Island, came out, maybe they came out around 89.
Right.
90. Y'all were more like 91, 92.
I remember listening to Potholes in My Lawn on one of these, mix shows like back in the days, like when I was still taping shit, sitting in my kitchen, taping shit on a tape. So they definitely came out before me.
Right. So we came out 88. They must have been 89, 90. Y'all were like 91, 92.
We got signed in 89, though. We got signed. We put out our single in 89. So they probably was like 88. You know what I mean? They could have had like a single in 88, and
must have been the end of 88.
Came out in 89. Maybe their album came out in 89, whereas we just had a single in 89. You see?
Okay.
I know we was on their heels. Like we was right on their heels. Like they was definitely before us. And they were somebody, because I remember they was a group that helped us like free ourselves from the older hip-hop ways. Because remember, I was rocking jewelry and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was one of those type of dudes.
Right.
So when we decided that it was going to be brand Nubian, and we's coming with this more like new hip hop energy, it was time to take the jewelry off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So on the first single for Feel So Good, you'll see we're in the Africa house, right? Mm-hmm. But I still have on like a Gucci link bracelet with a big ass fucking king ring. A gold fucking ring. And Pooh-Bah has on a chain with a medallion, but that was my chain. So I spread it and whatever. That's what it was. You know what I mean? And by the next photo shoot, we didn't have no jewelry on whatsoever. Now we had on like wood medallions and shit like that. Like this, the shit that motherfuckers was rocking at the time. Leather, the rope shit with the leather medallions at the end. I took my shit off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I remember De La Soul was a kind of group that showed us like, you don't have to rock all that shit. You know what I mean? Like y'all could just be regular and their example kind of freed us up to not have to go down that road, which was getting stale at that time. You know what I mean? Right, it was cliche that for a rapper to have a fucking rope chain, big ass rope chain with a, blah, 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 Dapper Dan suit and all that type of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, we went, met up Dante Ross, who I just saw because he just put out a book talking about, all the people that he signed. And we was the first ones at Elektra that he signed. He was at Tommy Boy, but he had just got a job at Elektra. And he's like, listen, I could sign you over here. A lot more artists over here. Or you can go to Elektra and be the first, the only rap group over there really, and have more attention, and they got more money and blah, 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 blah. And, so we was like, fuck it, let's do it. But when we went to Dante, we didn't have a demo. We didn't have a name. So he was like, listen, I already know you're dope, but, I need to be able to play something for these people. So, bring me something. And you know what I mean? Just bring me something. So we didn't have money to be recording and all that type of shit. But Pooh Bah had, you know what I mean, the connections. So he was connected with Jazzy J, Strong City Studios. You know, first he had a studio like on Westchester Avenue over by like what's that, the 6 train or some shit like that. And then it moved over to Allerton Avenue and shit. More like by the 2 train and all that type of shit. So we when it was over to Allerton Avenue was when we really was going over there a lot. And this is at the time when now we're trying to like get studio time, but for free. You know what I mean? So we're going there basically every day for like 2 weeks and like wait until everybody else's session is over and then hoping that Jay is in a good mood to be like, all right, y'all, you know what I mean? Y'all can go ahead in there and fucking, you know what I mean? Do what y'all need to do. And like, but we needed to do it for everything from scratch. Like we had to go in there. We needed time to just listen to records. Like you didn't even have a place to really listen to records back then. Like we did everything in the studio, which on hindsight was very wasteful. We didn't really need to be listening to records in the studio, but
yeah.
that's what the fuck we did. So it took us 2 weeks to put together one song. Okay. Name of the song was called I Ain't Going Out Like That. It might be on the internet somewhere. I think I saw it. It's on the internet somewhere. Although it was never released. So we did that song, brought it back to Dante. He loved it. And he was like, all right, well, now y'all just need a name. Like, you know what I mean? And so he was like, all right, gotcha. We'll be back. We went back to Jazzy J's studio and had just a name session. You know what I mean? We had a session where we're going to try to figure out what the name is. And we had little, you know, just things that we was putting in the pot. Now Rule Mob, all kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean? But we knew we wanted to be on some conscious type of, you know what I mean? Knowledge of self shit. Pooh Bah was just getting into the knowledge of self at the time. Like I've been had knowledge, but Pooh Bah was, you know, he was always on some conscious shit, but he was just getting into 5% knowledge at that time.
Right.
So, you know, he's the one that definitely wanted it to be like, nah, we got to be positive. Like, you know what I mean? We got to be conscious type of group, like save our people type of group, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, you know, because I love Public Enemy and all that type of shit. And I'm thinking, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it hard like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't really anticipate it to be as fun as we ended up making it. Like, and I didn't agree with that at first, although in retrospect, that was a great way to do it. So yeah, we're going through names. And I remember I used to read these Dr. York books at the time. And he's the one that used to be talking about, you know, we really Nubians, you know. And I just liked the way Nubian sounded, and it sounded negative affinity for the word African. You know what I mean? I was like, but if we say Nubian, they'll probably be more, you know what I mean? More in line with that. That might sound, you know, and Nubian just sounds like just kingly, and you know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, it's like Nubian, like, you know. Then we were saying dumb shit like Nubian Force, like funny JVC Force, but yeah, Nubian Force actually something that was on the paper. I ain't going with bullshit. I'm just thinking, it's like Nubian, it's like new, brand new. You know what I mean? Like brand Nubian. You know what I mean? Like, brand Nubian. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let's put that down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then, let's vote on it. You know, blah, 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 brand Nubian. We voted on brand Nubian. Even when we came with that, I feel like we still wasn't fully sure. Like, because I remember when we went to the motherfucker Dante, and he's like, all right, so what's the name? And we was like, brand Nubian.
Like a question mark.
It wasn't like brand Nubian. You know what I mean? It was like brand Nubian. Like, and he was like, oh man, I love it. You know what I mean? And we was like, yeah, brand Nubian. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, man, that's how it started.
Y'all was like the first one to really drop lessons in your joint, like almost full lessons. Like, and y'all had white people walk around talking about arm, leg, arm, head, not knowing that meant Allah. Like, because your word.
And like, not I thought knowing that we was calling them the devil.
Right. Mm-hmm. I thought that was so dope.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I couldn't really believe it. I was like, really? They're paying us to do this? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is like, it's the sweetest Vic ever. I can make money and tell the truth.
So now in Westchester, the only thing that's really going on is like Hev, right? Like, Hev's out just a little before y'all, right? So there's really not a lot of stuff in Westchester going on right now.
Let me just back it up and just say that when I said if a nickel bag is being sold in the park, you know, on some hip hop shit, first I was like that in New Rochelle. Then I was like that all over Westchester. You understand? Like, I had a crew and all of that type of shit. Where I was the DJ and I had my crew, and they was from Mount Vernon. My MCs was from Mount Vernon, and they was older than me. And so we had a crew called KD in the Ever Loving 3. I was KD.
That was you.
Word.
No, I know that.
You heard of KD in the Ever Loving 3?
Hell yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Word is born, my man. We Rock, fucking Debonair. My man Keto was in there for a minute and shit.
Debonair, I think I know Debonair.
Yeah, Debonair. He lived down the block from the projects and shit.
Yeah.
Light skinned dude, waves, always getting into fights and shit like that.
Yeah. I think I knew him. And I think he was closer to my age. He was older than you, right?
Not by much. If he is, not by much. Yeah.
Well, we was still in the same bracket though. Yeah.
Probably he used to be with older dudes. You probably thought he was older. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I was KD and the Ever Loving 3, and we used to be moving around Westchester a little something. I mean, we used to be up in White Plains, and you know what I mean.
I know the name. I'm dead.
I'm Westchester. You should know the fucking name. Okay. And I was like, you know, our little part of our little hook was that, you know, for the bitches especially, they used to be like, how do you think he is? You know, and I was like 14, 15, and they was like 18 or some shit. Like, they was like, I don't know, 18. He's only 15. You know what I mean? And I used to be like, we used to think that was like a hook or some shit. I don't know. And then at one point I started like MCing and DJing at the same time at some of these fucking shows. Like, I started getting into the MC shit, like, because
y'all had kind of like harmonizing routines.
Yes, I was about to explain.
Okay,
we had routines like that Cold Crush shit.
See, I'm telling you, I know.
So I'm helping to write these routines, and then it got to the point where it's like, well, nigga, you so good at helping writing these routines, you should write some of your own rhymes type of shit. You know what I mean? And that'll be dope if you fucking DJ and MC at the same time. So I had a mic stand attached to the fucking mixer, put the mic on there, and I would be like rhyming and scratching back and forth bro. I only seen Kid Capri do that later on. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm gonna stop you real quick. You know what's ill about what you just said? So the other two members of JVC were Caribbean, Trinidad and Barbados. So they wanted to do this ragga shit, and I ain't do that. So my DJ would come from behind the set and grab the mic, and I would get on the set, and I would cut while they did the ragamuffin shit. So
and that was some fly shit, right? And
yeah,
I know the crowd was like, "Oh shit!" Yeah. You know what I mean?
And we used to be on the stage. We used to run with Kane in them. So Mr. C was showing me how to break the beat down. You know, when the reggae, you got to break the beat down and bring it back up and break it down. He was showing me how to do that.
Bro, I had this shit where I started off the shit, and I literally, like, I seen Kid Capri do this later, and I'm not saying that I don't think he ever seen me or nothing like that. Sometimes just great minds think alike, right? But I know that I was the first one to take two turntables, right? And I was like, chicka 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 chicka, and then go into fucking it's yours. Yeah, like retarded. And we had this whole little routine where it started out like that, and but like the way they introduced it with some, cut two songs at the same time, and like, man, yeah, we had.
I lost a lot of my stuff. I probably had y'all on cassette.
You probably did, and my man Ja Will, he lost a lot of those cassettes and shit in some basement, almost on some RZA flooded basement type of shit.
That shit happened to me at my mom's place in the Rochelle. The same shit happened to me in the Rochelle, my mom's place on Westminster Court. Yo, I left my stuff there because she's the solid ones. I'm always moving around.
Right.
And all my shit, the colored vinyl, all kinds of shit. The first 50 episodes of the issues of The Source, like Dave Mays used to try to buy that shit from me. I wish I'd have sold it now.
Yikes.
I had it in plastic. The first 50 issues. All of that shit. So yeah, I lost cassettes. I lost it in a flood in the Rochelle.
So I say all this to say, making a long story longer, right? That as someone who moved all around Westchester, whose MCs was from Mount Vernon, first of all, I had a certain privilege that most people from New Rochelle didn't have, was I was able to be in Mount Vernon, like in the projects, 4th Street Playground, 3rd and 3rd, unaccosted. Like, niggas don't understand. Back then, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle was like the Bloods and the Crips. You understand? Like,
I had that because of my cousin Richard Dixon. That's the only reason I had that.
It was crazy. You see, you might have had it in New Rochelle, but could you guarantee for him in Mount Vernon? You see what I'm saying? Was it both ways?
Well, he never really came to Mount Vernon. He never
exactly.
He was a New Rochelle.
You know why? Because when shit was popping off at the motherfucking at the carnival that they used to have at the library and all that type of shit, Richard Dixon was one of these dudes busting heads on Mount Vernon dudes. Or when dudes was going up to the RKO, to the movie theaters at the RKO on Main Street, he was one of these dudes that was busting heads. That's why he probably wasn't going to Mount Vernon for fear that one of these dudes is gonna recognize him.
Real talk. I was down with the Mount Vernon crew, but I ran with Rich and Pete. I went back home to my mom's for the holidays in Long Island. I come back, my Mount Vernon crew and Rich and them get into beef. Now there's bad beef with my cousin and my crew. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You see, I can't make this shit up, bro. So what I'm saying is, I'm one of the only few people. There was very few that had carte blanche in Mount Vernon till later on. My niggas from Huguenot, who became the YGs, Tommy Guess and them, they're from New Rochelle, okay? And they went to Mount Vernon and took over. And I grew up with those today, okay? elementary school type of shit. But anyway, so I used to be at Mount Vernon High School. Heavy D was somebody, he was one of the MCs that would be on the mic at the high school. Was one of my peers at that time. You understand? I remember Puffy being at those parties. I remember Albie Shore being at those parties. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Puffy was nowhere near the mic. He was a dancer.
He wanted to be a rapper so bad, but they wouldn't let him.
I never seen him rap in my life, bro.
Well, he wanted to be a rapper.
Oh, he might have wanted to be a rapper, but he was one of those high top fade, polka dot shirt wearing dancing dudes. Fucking Groovy Lou and Walter and all them dudes was dancing type of dudes. Now, don't get me wrong, Groovy Lou and them used to, even though they was dancing dudes, they still would get down. Like they was known for still fighting and shit like that.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm not gonna say there was no suckers or nothing like that. But Puffy, I didn't know him for fighting. I just only knew him for dancing. You know what I mean? Like I only knew him as a dancer at that time.
Oh, my bad. Well, I thought when I said he wanted to rock the mic, that was talking about Albie Shore. I wasn't talking about Puff. Albie Shore wanted to be a rapper.
Albie Shore.
They wanted him.
I just knew on him as a dude that was just kind of cool. I didn't know he did nothing. I didn't know he rap, sang, or anything.
I went to school with him. When I saw him on the record, I was like, "Who's this? Where'd this come from?"
Me and him messed with a broad. See, this one broad, and it's so crazy because she washed up now, and I'm happy that she's washed up. You know why? Because she was my broad for a little while. Like she was one of the first, like my first love and shit. But this fucking broad, made me hard against broads and shit because she was a fucking whore. But anyway, I'm not gonna say her name. But anyway, but she ended up, she dealt with me. Then at one point she dealt with Derek X. She dealt with Albie Shore. You know what I mean? But this is all before we was famous. You understand what I'm saying? And it just so happens she dealt with all these people before they was famous, but she never really benefited from, you know what I mean? None of that. Now she's mad overweight, and hey, I'm still out here looking good, but that's a whole nother subject.
So y'all are doing y'all got the brand new music thing going. Habs on. So y'all are really the only thing.
Habs on. Habs is instrumental as far as to me, and I think to Poobah as well, is like, yo, we could really go far with this. I also wanted to say that I used to fuck with DMX too. That's part of my Westchester journey. I was everywhere. So Yonkers is, of course, got hip hop. School 12 used to have these hip hop jams and shit like that. And me and DMX, you know what I mean? We the same age. We had that same kind of, street energy at the time. He might have been a little more street than me. I ain't gonna lie though, because this nigga was, in all kind of group homes and shit. Like I wasn't ready to be that street where I wanted to go to group home. Like I was right on the edge. I went to alternative school, but I'm not that crazy now. You know what I mean? Like this brother, he was in group homes and all kind of shit from young. Like, but we just definitely had that similar spirit. So I used to fuck with him from back then. And when we got on with Brand Nubian, I actually was trying to work with DMX and shit like that. But, he was too crazy at the end. I'm just getting on, like, you know what I mean? It was too much. And I think he got locked up or something. I don't know. But it wasn't the time. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to mention that, Have definitely, I was right there watching him rhyming at the high school and shit like that. And he was somebody, that was consistent at these hip hop jams and somebody that would be on the mic. You know what I mean? And when he made his shit and got so big, it was like, damn, you really can, like Westchester really can do it. He was the one for Westchester that blew the Westchester doors open. Because before that, it was all about the 5 boroughs or Long Island. You know what I mean? See, Long Island, you know, almost.
But even Long Island, until we made Strong Island, you didn't know them artists was from Long Island. People really didn't know, and if they didn't know, PE and Rakim was from Long Island. You know what I'm saying? Then when we did Strong Island,
because y'all almost was blending with Queens and Brooklyn because it's attached to both. You understand what I'm saying? So you could kind of act like. And I never said I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, but you couldn't have told me that Rakim wasn't from Brooklyn until he's saying, you know, rough enough to break New York from Long Island, you know, like, and you start to hear Wine Dance, and you're like, huh? Like, but he hang with, you know, he hang with Killer Ben and all of them dudes from Brooklyn. Like, what? 50 Cent and these type of, like, those is Brooklyn dudes, like. You know what I mean? So
and Eric B was down with Supreme Team and Queens niggas. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, so shit was real, like it was confusing in a way as far as that went. But as West, so that's what I'm saying. The 5 boroughs, it seemed like anywhere else you was on Mars or some shit like that. Like you could try to make a record, but you're not gonna pop off unless you're from the 5 boroughs. Like, you know what I mean? So for Westchester, everybody that ever popped off from Westchester, I think has to, well, no, damn. As far as what's big, but see, Heavy D was inspired by Pooh Bah. He was inspired by Sexy. That's where the diddly 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 diddly. That's why fucking Heavy D did it, because he got that from Don Barron, some Westchester shit. It didn't pop as big as, you know what I mean? So Hev was thinking, I could take that shit even further because that shit was fly. Like that shit only went but so far. I'll take that Bung Diddly shit.
And he was Jamaican anyway, so
I'm Jamaican, so it's please. It's legal. That's like somebody saying ho. You know what I mean? Like, I guess to Jamaicans, it's like, you can't copyright. Say ho. Like, everybody say that shit. So I'll say bun diddly if I want to fucking say bun diddly diddly. And I'll say it longer, and you know what I mean? And I know the homie was tight. Don Barron was tight, but it is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like he was inspired by Pooh Bah, but then he went even further. And then once he was in further, he now inspired Pooh Bah. You know what I mean? Like, so man sharpens man, steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron, and a diamond cuts a diamond. You know what I mean?
And then y'all had the Westchester connection with Pete Rock and CL Smooth and Elektra. And they came later.
Well, no.
Well, did y'all ever work together or anything?
We was fucking with Pete, like so, like Pooh Bah and Heavy D was cool. Like I remember when I was still in the hanging out with Pooh Bah phase, you know, when I wasn't even in Brand Nubian, he brought me to Heavy D crib. You know what I mean? So he was in that loop. And then his cousin Jeff, I think, grew up, Jeff Dixon, who ended up being Ludacris's manager and all that later. Yeah. Big Jeff. They grew up like around the block or up the block from Heavy D and shit like that. So that whole connection right there with his family and all of that is how they were close to Hev and all of that. And then Pete Rock is motherfucking Hev's cousin.
His cousin. Yeah.
So when we're in like the early days of fucking Brand Nubian, you know, this was some shit that pissed me off one day. I ain't even gonna fucking lie to you. These niggas went to Pete Rock's crib unbeknownst to me. Pooh Bah and Sadat went to Pete Rock's crib unbeknownst to me and recorded some shit. and the shit was dope. The shit was like, it's called Pooba Maxwell, How You Living. And I was like, how the fuck these motherfuckers went, you know what I mean? And they made this dope ass shit without me. I was so tight, bro. But it was like, and that was way before any thoughts of Electra. He ended up getting on the radio later and all of that type of shit. And then he got on Electra type of shit. And then it was like, oh shit, you know? And what's so funny is Corey, CL, we used to go to school together. He was part of that whole Huguenot and all these niggas who used to play basketball. And when he says, I tried to be live because I got no choice and run my own business like my Aunt Joyce. His Aunt Joyce had a hair salon.
Yes.
And my moms used to go to that hair salon when I was since I was a child. I remember, I'm talking 5 years old, up until I don't know how long. I remember calls. It's Joyce. Like my grandmother pick up the phone, it's Joyce. And they're confirming hair appointments. And I remember going, sitting up in the shop with my moms and my brothers. And you know what I mean? And that was CL's aunt. You know what I mean? So because CL, I didn't necessarily know him to be an MC like that. You know what I mean? Like he was just a cool dude that I seen around. But when he ended up being CL Smooth, I was like, that's CL Smooth? Like that's the homie, but I didn't even know he fucking rhymed type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was real crazy. I was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Now they on the label with us. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, fuck it. You know?
So did y'all do shows together? I know y'all didn't record together.
Yeah. Okay. Hell yeah, we did shows together.
Usually, you know, label mates, they do that. Yeah.
Yeah, matter of fact, they was on that show. So there was a big show at Kilimanjaro's. It was called Hard to the Left. It was an Electra showcase. Okay. And on this show was KMD, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, leaders of the new school.
Oh, yeah.
And Brand Nubian. And I mean, when I tell you this was a crowning night for Westchester and New Rochelle especially. You know why? Because we was in the city, but we was so fucking deep. And niggas felt so strong that like niggas from New Rochelle started beefing with niggas from like Queens or Brooklyn or what. We didn't give a fuck where they was from. We were so strong that night. Like you never seen it like that before. Like I used to be in all of these clubs in the city because my hip hop shit, like I said, it would go through Westchester, and then I'm all in these clubs in all 5 boroughs. You know what I mean? I used to be in the quarters. I used to be in fucking Union Square and all this type of shit. And never, you know, did they get on the mic and be like, "Is New Rochelle in the house?" You know what I mean? And motherfuckers be like, "Ah!" You never. It always was like, "Is Brooklyn in the house?" And everybody, "Ah!" You know what I mean? On this night, it was like, "Is Now Rule in the house?" And the shit was, and we're in the city and that happened. You know what I mean? That's when I was like, yo, we got power. We got power. We got how damn near the whole nurse shells here right now.
And all the YG niggas used to show up everywhere the head was.
And niggas is acting up too. I was loving it. YG's was probably there that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yo, I'm
gonna keep it real on this particular night.
I'm gonna tell you, I was doing the Long Island thing at the time but I was in the city at the clubs. And you know how niggas be like, oh, here come them Brooklyn niggas? Brooklyn niggas was saying, oh, here come the Mount Vernon niggas. I was there. I heard them like, yo, Brooklyn niggas. Brooklyn niggas was saying, here come the Mount Vernon.
By that time, Brooklyn niggas wasn't on it like that anymore. Like Brooklyn niggas was on it in the prime days of the quarters and the Union Square. And, you know, that's when it, but then when you got more towards the 90s, they wasn't really doing that. YG's picked up right where them niggas left off and was terrorizing these fucking parties, bro. Boy, you better not come up in there with no jewelry and all this type of shit and not know niggas and what? And it's funny, like one of their biggest goons, my man, fucking Jerry Crow. Yeah, my mom's used to babysit Jerry Crow. How fucking me and Jerry Crow had like almost like a stealing contest going on.
That's crazy. How crazy is that?
So dig. So like my mom's was babysitting him, but he was older than me. But she's babysitting him, right? So I don't even remember how old I was. I think maybe like first grade or some crazy shit like that. Anyway, long story short, he stole some shit from me. You know what I mean? He stole some shit and I figured it out. It was him. You know what I mean? So now the next time he came to the crib, he had some shit that I wanted. And I stole the shit from him. You know what I mean? Even though he was bigger than me and all that type of shit. But, and I think when he figured out what I did, yo, he respected me for it. I think he loved me for like, oh shit, he stole some shit back from me. Like, I fucks with him. And ever since then, yo, we was like cool for life. You know what I mean? And then he grew up to be a bully. He grew up to be the Debo of the hood.
So I want to fast forward just a little. So Brand New Business is done what they doing. Y'all doing the thing.
Yeah.
Now I know the story, but I want you to. So y'all showing up the shows and Poopa's not showing up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We getting to that point where he's about to do the solo thing. He's actually working on an album and stuff. And
right,
y'all are showing up and people are looking for Poopa. I've been to a few of those shows when they like people was looking for.
Right. And yeah, and in their minds, he's that guy. You know what I mean? And they still don't fully understand who me and X are. You know what I mean?
I think y'all proved the point with, yo, and this is just some real hip hop shit. Hip hop thought that Brand Nubians was dead after Pooba left. Until y'all drop punks jump up to get beat down. Niggas is like, oh, them niggas, okay, that's them niggas. That's them niggas. Them niggas is still rocking like that. That's them niggas. Okay. And I'm telling you, that's what
right.
Real talk. Cause that shit just changed the parameters.
But here's the thing. We changed the parameters one show at a time. So we would show up to these shows and people would literally, like, you would literally hear people in the crowd, where's Pooba? You know what I mean? Like, you would hear that at the beginning of the show. By the time we were finished with what we were doing, applause. Nobody asking for Pooba no more. You know what I mean? But we had to get through that initial hurdle every time. You know what I mean? Every time showing up. I remember one time, I'll keep it funky with you. We in Buffalo and the shit happened. You know what I mean? And we got over the hurdle with the crowd and all that and came back, ended up rocking. But then the promoter still didn't want to fucking pay. I ain't gonna lie. and the promoter was a gangster, like a real gangster ass nigga, like, you know what I mean? Like he was a real Buffalo gangster. And he was like, I don't give a fuck. Like that nigga Pooh Bah wasn't here. I'm not paying y'all type of shit. And that was the one time that we really, you know what I mean? Because most other times it'd be like, yo, fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, we didn't have no wins on this particular day, man. And we had to fucking eat that shit, man. And that one fucking hurt. But that was the only time that really happened. Like, you know what I mean? But it was
so when
literally
do you know,
hundreds of, I don't know about hundreds, but maybe 100 times that happened. I don't know.
When do you know he's officially doing the solo thing and y'all got to find a way to go on without him?
I don't know.
What's going through your mind when that happens? Like, literally.
See, I'm a cocky motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? Cool. Now, shit. Now I could do it the way I thought it should have been done in the first place. You know what I mean? Because remember, I said I was on some Public Enemy shit, like, and I kind of felt like we should have been a little more serious sometime. I didn't like some of the fluffier songs. Like I felt like I could have, you know, a song like Try to Do Me. I didn't understand that, why that existed on the album. I understand it now, but at the time I was like, this R&B, you know, and some of it, you know, all this playing around shit. Like, let's get serious. You know what I mean? So that's why the whole tone of the second album changed, because, you know, that was my thought is what you heard. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I want to get more hard anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so now I'm going to show motherfuckers. You know what I mean? That's how I took it. You know what I mean? I think X was a little apprehensive at first until he seen, you know what I mean? He seen my attitude and was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Fuck that. And, you know what I mean? And yeah. And then I had Sincere with me. Sincere was my right-hand man. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Helping to put that battery in my back. And we was just like, yeah, man, we could do this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like they loving this 5% knowledge and we're really the source. You know what I mean?
Y'all are putting full lessons.
That's what I'm saying. And we're the source of this. Like we're the 120 gods. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Pooh Bah was just getting knowledge of self when he wrote Wake Up. Imagine that. But see, he also wrote it with my right-hand man, Sincere, was right there, who knowledge 120. So now we going into In God We Trust. And you know what I mean? I know 120. Fucking Sincere know 120. X don't know lessons yet like that, but he's around us and that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay. Like, you know, he's absorbing it. He's absorbing shit right now. Like, you know what I mean? And by the end of that album, he became Sadat X. You know what I mean? Was he Sadat X on?
But he was Sadat X somewhere in Off One, wasn't he?
Yeah, okay. Because I remember doing the remix. We did the remix for Concerto in X Minor.
Right.
Peace, God. Don't ever call me Eric because it's not my righteous name. Yeah, okay. So yeah, he was already Sadat X.
Yeah, because I remember the transition. Like, yeah. And then it got to a point where people forgot that there was a Derek X. It was always Sadat. Like they didn't even know he was.
Exactly. So yeah, that's what happened. You know, we got through that shit, and then yeah, I wasn't really scared like that. I mean, maybe somewhere in the back of my mind, it was like, damn, you know, we're gonna really have to do this now. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like I felt like we was prepared. I felt like we knew the science of how to make hits and all of that. Yeah, I feel like I'm a good study. I know this was not an accident. These songs we made the first time was not an accident, and we about to show you that. You know what I mean?
And now people, because the hip hop business, the media, people really wanted y'all to have beef. But y'all mean y'all lived in the same town, was on the same label. There was no way that y'all could not see each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know. I mean, there might have been animosity, but I know there wasn't like beef, like y'all was gonna fight on sight type beef. Like,
nah. I mean, there was resentment. I feel like with me and Pooh Bah, man, it was more of that like alpha energy. You know what I mean? Two alphas come together, man, and some shit's gonna pop off, man. You got to make room for one. Either one's gonna, you know what I mean? Somebody got to lie down, or else take these niggas to two different kennels or some shit, or else it's gonna, you know what I mean? Unless they both decide that they're both gonna, you know what I mean? Subdue their energy to respect. But one is not gonna bow to the other. That's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? And that's the type of shit that me and Pooh Bah got into. You know what I mean? And it was like a generational thing where you seeing your young boy who you had under your wing, and now he's coming at you as your equal. And it's hard to accept sometimes.
That big brother, little brother mentality.
Of the guard. Yeah, the big brother, little brother is like, at some point, nigga, I'm that age. I could drink with you now. Like I could, you know what I mean? Like I got my driver's license. We all the same. You know what I mean? I could vote. I could do all the grown-up shit that you could do. We're on equal footing now, sir. So you gotta have to treat me a little differently now. You see? And it's weird when that dynamic changes and you're used to being, you know what I mean, the big brother, and now little brother's asking you to just be my brother. Don't treat me like little bro. You know what I mean? And you know, and so it was a lot of that was going on.
I seen a show where I think y'all did a show together where y'all might have actually, there was a record that people thought was about y'all that he did, and people thought Punk Stump Up Could Be Down was about him. But y'all end up performing these songs back to back, like one right after the other. Yo, all on the stage.
And we do that to this day.
Right. And it was dope. Like people just wanted y'all to have beef. Like just wanted y'all to just have beef. Because that's how they sell newspapers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it was never beef like that. Again, it was just like resentment over dumb shit, and it was some ego shit, but it was never like, you know what I mean? I'm ready to pull a gun out on this man, and you know what I mean?
Right.
And fire, like, because trust me, if it was beef like that, we definitely came across each other's paths and all of that, and
right. And y'all was on the same label. Y'all had to be in the building at the same time at some time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we had the same accountant, all of that type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, shout out Bert Padell. Like, we, of course we seen each other and all that. So if it was real beef, then real beef shit would have happened, but it wasn't. It was
now
just
which
like, man.
Now which one you or Sadat was the first to drop a solo album? Was it Sadat?
Sadat, yeah, man, I didn't drop a solo album.
All right, for a while, yeah. Actually, for a while,
yeah. I'm the only one that only has one solo album.
And I interviewed you for that, the 5% album. I interviewed you for that.
Yeah,
I did some hip hop magazine that ain't around no more.
Right,
like, we sat down and
my shit is a classic. But yeah,
so. Yeah. When do y'all get from the Brand Nubians, you and Sadat to Sadat doing solo stuff? Like,
and
is he doing solo stuff and y'all still doing group stuff, or he's just doing solo stuff?
I feel like he's trying to break away now, because we did Everything Is Everything. Now that's a record that some people say they love it. That's one of their favorite, and some people they hate it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I produced all that whole album, just like I produced In God We Trust. This one was more experimenting with instruments and all this type of shit, and just a different feeling, and music was changing at the time. But and so this one didn't sell as much as the other ones, but all East Coast music was not selling really at this time. It was the West Coast was dominating shit like crazy. But I feel like
until Biggie came out.
Right. Exactly. So, but I feel like somebody had to be the scapegoat. And I don't, when you're a leader, man, you gotta fucking take the wins with the losses. You know what I mean? So I feel like X might have been looking at me like, oh, yeah, it was his fault because the kind of beats he was choosing. I would have did this, and that I would have did that. So and then of course, we're brand Nubian, so it's like if he's out there looking for some solo shit, then yeah, why wouldn't he find it? And somebody like Steve Riff was like, hey, I'll sign to .x. Hell yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
And he was like the feature king. He was on everybody. He was on everybody's feature. Like, you just wanted a feature, he was on that voice was on everything.
Which I didn't like, which I was telling him, like, yo, man, you wasting a lot of good lines on features that some of these features, all you're doing is helping them. These are not features that are helping you. I was like, and he's like, well, that's how I keep my shit sharp. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could just tell he's like, he's not feeling me at this time. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't feeling my advice. Like, he would usually take my advice with a lot of shit. And he wasn't feeling that advice that I was telling him to slow down with these joints. But I was like, now the one joint that he did at the time that I approved of was the come on, motherfuckers, come on. I said, and that was the first time I ever heard Big. Okay. I was like, bro, I don't know who the fuck that is right there. I said, but that shit right there, now that's a good fucking feature right there. That shit is the type of shit you need to keep doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now fast forward, look at, anyway.
So while he's doing the solo thing, the group's not together. You don't.
So now I'm like,
is that when you get into the acting now? Is that the acting now? Or
well, yeah, it's both. It's both. I'm thinking, shit. Well, then I should do a solo joint. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to like record songs and shit like that. This is when I live in Brooklyn and all that. I'm starting to record songs and all this type of shit for myself. But then this is also, well, the acting thing actually was starting towards. No, the acting didn't come yet.
So what are you doing between the group,
solo? Between that, right? So I'm like, first of all, I moved to Brooklyn and I was like, yo, I want to find acts. You know what I mean? I want to find acts.
Oh, Dead Prez.
One of my favorite movies was this movie called The Idol Maker with this dude Ray Sharkey. Look it up. And he's like he makes stars. Like, you know what I mean? Like he makes one fucking dude a star, and then the ungrateful son of a bitch, fires him or whatever. And he's like, you know what? I could do it again, motherfucker. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then somebody challenged him, we'll take anybody, pick somebody. And then so there's a fucking waiter at the fucking restaurant, and he looks at this guy and he thinks he looks the part. He's like, I'll turn that motherfucker into a star. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck if he can sing or not. Boom. He grabs this motherfucker up, teaches him how to sing, dance. Sure enough, this motherfucker turns into a star. You know what I mean? And this motherfucker shits on him too at the end, because of ego and all of that. And then at the very end of the movie, because this was during the 50s, like the Elvis type of model. So by the end of the movie, time has passed. They're now in like the late 60s, 70s. It's a more different time, and the singers don't have to be as pretty anymore. And, now it's him on stage because he was a songwriter and all that shit too. Now it's him on stage, and, it kind of ends like that. Like, the dope fucking movie, man. But I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be the fucking idol maker on hip hop. Like, I like what Russell Simmons did with Def Jam, and I just felt like I could find motherfuckers. I found DMX before he was DMX. I found Black Rob before he was Black Rob. Like, I just had some, I just know the shit when I hear it. The first time I heard Rakim, I knew it was gonna be what he turned out to be. So that being said, I was starting to do my start on the solo shit, and then I met Dead Prez.
Keep talking. I'm grabbing my cord for my laptop, but keep talking. Got
you. So I met Dead Prez at this shit, Atlantic Antic. It was this big festival that used to happen on Atlantic Avenue. I think this still goes on. They shut the shit down for blocks and blocks. They got music, food, and all this type of shit. Thousands of people out there. I happen to be out there. These dudes run up on me. Run up on me. Hey, we rhyme. Da 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 da. Whatever. We exchanged numbers, and I heard some shit over the phone. I was like, oh, these motherfuckers is dope. Invited them to my crib. I saw they had a lot of dope hooks, but their fucking rhymes just went on and on and on. They didn't know anything about counting bars, and, their production was dope, but it was grimy, and, and I was just like, yo, I see something in these dudes, and I had been working with some other dudes already, in Brooklyn. Shout out to my man Maestro Manny. It introduced me to people like AZ before he was out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I was working with my man Star, rest in peace. My man Star, he sang and shit. It just had the drive, and I just saw something in him. So we just working every day for it. So finally, I had put together a demo. Maybe 6 months in, I had put together a demo of their shit, and like that shit just started moving around. Like, you know what I mean? I circulated it to certain people. And they started to just get a cult following. We started doing little shows and shit like that around New York City, and you know what I mean? We even went to like North Carolina and Chicago and did some shows, and fucking, yeah, I was grinding with these dudes, and then so I knew, and so Loud was like, that was the label at the time. Like, they had Wu-Tang, they had Mobb Deep, they had, you know what I mean? And they had Sadat X, you know what I mean? So I'm like, man, if they fucking with Sadat, and you know what I mean? No offense, but I wasn't really happy with the product that he ended up putting out at Loud. He had like 2 songs that I liked on that fucking album. Like, I was like, man, they put money into that shit. Like, this shit I got over here, I know they'll want to fuck with this shit. You know what I mean? So shit, I went up to Loud, went up to a few places. Matter of fact, I went up to Columbia. Faith Newman wanted to fuck with Dead Prez, but they were so political, and Columbia.
Steve Rifkin didn't give a fuck. So
yeah, Columbia was like, but Faith really wanted to sign them. But yeah, Steve Rifkin, and it was Maddie C and Scott Free, and you know what I mean? And so at that time, when I was, when it was looking like, yeah, it's gonna be fucking it's gonna be loud and shit like that. You know what I mean? We kept going up there and all this type of, and we just being up there. And now they playing shit for us. Like they was playing early Big Pun, like before they signed Pun. Fucking Matty C and motherfucking Scott Free. It was like, yo, what you think of this right here? And he played fucking, I think it was You Ain't a Killer or some shit like that, man. I was like, yeah. Everything about it, the beat, just the way he was rhyming. I was like, yo, this shit is fucking crazy. And I was just thinking like, yo, Loud is gonna be retarded. Be part of this shit. Like I was like, yeah, the mind wins again.
Now you didn't record with Dead Prez, right? Did you do anything with them? I know you put them out, but did you?
I produced the whole
but
demo.
You didn't put no bars on there though.
No, I didn't put no bars on there. Okay. No. My shit was
I think that might have been ill though, a collaboration. I think that might have been ill. I don't know.
Yeah, well, matter of fact, we might have had like some unreleased shit that we've done. Yeah, we got a song called Boots to Knives that we did, but it just it didn't make the cut at that time. But yeah, I was just on my producer shit at that time and just stepping back, and they were signed to me on some that's when the production deal and all that was the thing back in the day. So I had a production thing, and
a lot of people don't know you, the producer.
Huh?
A lot of people don't know you, the producer.
Well, I didn't produce every song, but I produced quite a few on there.
But people don't know you did as much production as you did, though.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I know that is a thing, right? And I feel like I want this year, for some reason, I feel like that's all getting ready to change because I got so much production that's getting ready to come out this year that's getting ready to be crazy that like motherfuckers gonna know like, oh shit, like yo, Lord J got some shit. Like, yeah, I do. I've been had some shit. Yeah, like I've produced some of the illest, you know what I mean? Like brand Nubian joints that if you think about, like one of the illest beats is Allah Akbar. Like just as a producer, producers love me for producing that right there. They're like, just how I put that shit together was retarded. Like Love Me, Leave Me Alone, I did. I put together. Now you got people that found the record, so shout out to people like X and Alamo, that found the record, but I put the shit together. That was actually my first joint that I actually produced. And then I produced my solo joint, which was what the fuck's the name of my Dance to My Ministry? I'm like, what the fuck's the name of my old solo joint? That record too, people think finding a record means producing, but it doesn't. But I'll let you want to give people their little shout out or whatever, but you could find a record and now, all right, I'll put it in your hands. Now what you gonna do with it? Like if you don't know how to put that motherfucker together, it don't matter. Like finding a record and shit like that. That's But anyway.
The Dead Prez joint to this day, that is bigger than hip hop joint, is still ridiculous to this day. Like it's just
that. You know who did that?
The beat is just crazy.
You know who did that?
Who?
I signed a check to do that, and I was like, who the fuck is Kanye West?
Oh, get out. Get out.
I remember I had to sign the because everything was coming through me at that time. And I was started getting tired of it. We was going our separate ways, kind of me and Dead Prez. And I remember bigger than hip hop remix, huh? I'm like Kanye West. I'm like $4,000. I'm like, at that time I thought that was kind of expensive and shit, to be given to some producer that I never heard of and shit. Yeah, Kanye West.
Can't get him for that price now.
Not at all. That ain't even paying for the motherfucking laces on his goddamn sneakers.
So okay, so you do the dead press thing, you're doing the production thing. How does the acting thing come about?
So yeah, so I'm doing the dead press shit, and I am actually getting, some good production at this time too. I'm selling a lot of beats and shit like that. But really by the end of the dead press shit and during like Sadat's shit, Brand Nubian ended up doing the Lump remix. So we came together as Brand Nubian on one of Sadat's single for the remix for his song, The Lump. And we killed it. And I don't understand why they didn't make that like the single. Like, fuck his solo version. They should have made the reunion of Brand Nubian the fucking single. What kind of dog you got, by the way?
You talking about me?
Yeah, you.
Remember my sister's house, she got 2 Rotties.
Oh, okay. It sound like some big boys. I got a big bully right here, but you can see him right there. Anyway,
I see your 2. I see your 2 on the couch.
Yeah, one big one, one small one.
Yeah.
But so what were we just talking about?
The acting, going to the acting.
Yeah, but no, we're talking about how or what happened. So yeah, that's what brought us together, kind of like Brand Nubian. Like that's the first thing we recorded together was the Lump remix. Then from there, that kind of inspired some interest from Arista Records. And then we ended up getting a deal as Brand Nubian again on Arista, and we came back together to do Foundation. So we do Foundation, which is a very slept on album, man. Lyrically, we was on some shit at that time. Definitely me and Pooh-Bah were very much in our bag on that one. X had some good shit too. But it was during that album, during that time period where I remember saying to Jeff Dixon, because I'm just tired. I was just tired of seeing all these movies with rappers in them, and these niggas seem like they can't even really read properly, like, and I'm just like, I know I could do a way better job at this shit, like, you know what I mean? And if they're gonna let rappers in, well then I want in. Here I go again with my I want in shit. And so I didn't know how to get in, but I wanted in. And secretly, I had been wanted in, but I never like said it out loud, like, you know what I mean? So this was the time that I was like, you know what? Say it out loud. So I says to Jeff Dixon at the time, who was our manager at the time, I was like, man, get me in a movie or something, man. Like, all these niggas is getting in movies and shit, man. Get me in a movie, man. Like, you know what I mean? Show me that you the manager, right? Do some ill management shit. Like, you know what I mean? Get me in a movie, bro. So he didn't know, really. He didn't have no magic movies to throw me in. But he's like, all right, HBO is having they're having a screening for a new series that's coming out. You know what I mean? And I got y'all, on the list or whatever to go to the shit. You know what I mean? And it turns out that the new series that HBO was out was a little show called The Sopranos.
Oh, we just on The Sopranos first. Okay.
Huh?
I thought Oz was first, but yeah.
I wasn't. I was on Oz. I'm just telling you, this is the screening that they were sending us to. Right? Was for The Sopranos. But now nobody knew what The Sopranos was going to end up being. You know what I mean? As big a show as it was. And then fast forward, I ended up being on The Sopranos later on, but that's for just one episode. But that's later on, years later. But anyway, at this thing, mad people from the cast of Oz ended up going to this premiere because they're on HBO, and I guess, you know, they support each other and all this type of shit. And so when we get there, fucking, all these dudes from Oz, you know, they know who we are. Like, oh shit, brand newbie. And I remember fucking Michael Rappaport was there. And this motherfucker started spitting lyrics from Probable Cause, from the Foundation album, Probable Cause. And I ain't gonna lie, the motherfucker said nigga. He spit Alamo's rhyme from Probable Cause, which I wrote, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. So he's like, he comes up, he sees us, he says, I ain't do shit. Jake caught a nigga with a weed clip. Couldn't believe it when he took me in, threw me and my man up in the van, a 7-hour stand, walking around, watching them harass the black man. And I'm like, do I slap him for saying nigga right now, or do I hug him for even knowing these lyrics like this? Like, what the fuck what in the surreal shit is going on right now? You know what I mean? Needless to say, I didn't slap him. He got away with it because he said the rhyme in its entirety. And then it was like, oh shit, okay. Like that was one of I don't really know how far your reach is, like, I guess, with this music shit sometimes. Like, who really knows you, who really listens to your shit and all of that type of shit. And so you be sleeping on yourself sometimes. And then you be like, you know, and then you realize like ill sports niggas, you know, that you look up to, like these niggas listen to your shit and they actually know that you exist in the world. Like, you know, and it's just crazy sometimes. You know what I mean?
I got a Rappaport minute too.
Okay.
He shouted us out. It's a quick video.
Okay.
The people that have come out of Long Island, Strong Island. Shout out to the JVC Force. That's a deep cut. Do yourself a favor and YouTube JVC Force, Strong Island. Use that in Beats, Rhymes, and Life, The Travels of a Tribe Called Quest, because if you were around New York City, 86, 87, 88, 89, and you were into hip hop, you know that chorus. Yeah.
So I don't even know where he did that. Somebody sent me a clip. I was like, yo,
that's crazy. And it's funny because he interviewed us for that Beats, Rhymes, and Life, but the interview didn't make it in, but they still mentioned us in the movie, and he invited us to the premiere and all that type of shit, and we went, and it was cool. But yeah, so long story short, that I met people that night. We met people from Oz. We met a bunch of people from Oz, and one of the main people that I ended up being mad cool with was Dean Winters. The one that played O'Reilly, okay? My man, motherfucking Mayhem, like me, from Allstate right now. Who he don't have to fucking work another fucking day in his life if he don't want to, because those Allstate fucking commercials, whew, man, lucky fuck. Anyway, me and him got cool. Like we were smoking weed inside the the spot. You know what I mean? That night, they had a after party at this Italian restaurant. We smoking weed in there, and you know what I mean? Like, we were just cool. We exchanged numbers, and I would invite him to some hip hop shit, and he would invite me to some, you know, acting shit. You know what I mean? Like different functions and shit like that. And so time went on, you know, it might have been a year or so. And I remember one day he invited us to the set, right? And this is brand Nubian, like, but Puba's not there. It's me, X, Alamo is there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were filming a scene. They're in the cafeteria, and there was a bunch of extras and all of that. And he was like, yo, if you want, you guys could put on some shoots right now and like and go play some extras and shit, you know, be in the scene. You want to be in the scene type of shit. And I say to myself, I said, man, as much as I want to be on this fucking show, if I'm gonna be on this show, I ain't gonna be no fucking extra. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I tell them thanks, but no thanks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good. And like, I feel like since I was his guest, you know what I mean? And we really was there on the strength of me, kind of like, once I said no, it kind of was a no for everybody. You know what I mean? And I feel like niggas was kind of mad at me that day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this nigga Jay, you know what I mean? Just shot the shit down and you know what I mean? We could have been in the scene or whatever, but this nigga, fuck, here this nigga go. You know what I mean? Like, one of those type of shits. Like, you know, I just felt like niggas darts at me. Like, niggas was darting at me that day. Like, man, we could have been in an episode of Oz, man, in the background, man. This nigga fucked it up for us. Now, I had no idea that in the future, maybe a year from that time that happened, you know, I just stay cool with me and Dean was cool. We cool to this day. So he was like, yo, would you ever want to be on the show? And I was like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? He was like, I'm gonna talk to Tom, man. Talk to Tom. Tom Fontana is the creator of Oz, the writer, the creator, all of that type of shit. So I'm like, okay, maybe this nigga gonna put in a good word for me. So he calls me maybe 2 weeks later from the time he says this, and he's like, yo, Tom wants to meet with you. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, word? Okay. So go to Tom Fontana's office with Dean Winters. And the nigga, yo, he just starts talking to me like I'm already on the show. I hadn't read anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't know how cool these niggas was. It turns out that not only is the nigga that plays O'Reilly's brother on the show, that's his real brother. Then they got another brother who was a writer on the show, on the behind the scenes. So this nigga was like really, you know what I mean? In the show. Like I guess he really had some pull. And I didn't realize, you know what I mean? So he's talking to me like, yo, you're in. We just got to figure out who you're going to be. You know what I mean? And then he's like, you know, I got this Jamaican character I was thinking about, you know, which turned out to be Mo Bay, which Lance Riddick ended up playing. And when he said, you know, he's an undercover cop. I said, nah, I don't want to be no police. You know what I mean? I said, nah, I don't want to be no police. And so he might have been a little taken back at first at the fact that I just didn't accept the first thing that he threw at me type of shit. You know what I mean? And so he was like, all right, well, we just got to figure something out for you. And I said, let me ask you something. I said, you ever heard of the 5% Nation? And he's like, nah, what's that? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of like the Nation of Islam, but a little more street. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's kind of like the Muslims, like what you have on the show already, but it's a little more street and like, you know, it's definitely exists within the jails. Like, it's very strong within the jails. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm almost surprised that you don't have that represented type of shit. Like, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, you know, basically they said, you know, we teach the black man is God and, you know, and you know, I'm saying all this positive shit. And so I said the black man is God shit, right? So then he says to me, he says, wow, that's interesting. He said, let me ask you something. So if the black man is God, does that make the white man the devil? And this is one of those moments, like where you can hear a pin drop. I'm sitting in there by myself with two white men. You know what I mean? That basically they're the gatekeepers of whether I'm going to live my dream of getting on TV right now, right? And he's asking me this difficult question. So how do I answer them? He says, does that mean the white man is the devil? I said, yes. Yes, it does. Little quiet for a second. And he's like, I love it. He's like, I love it. He's like, now we just got to figure out how to get you in there. And I said, oh, that's easy. I robbed a bank. He said, no, a bank is federal. This is not a federal prison. I said, okay, let me think about it. You know what I mean? I'll get back to you on that one. Just like we got back to Dante on the name, like, you know what I mean? But we had established, okay. And I had a name, Supreme Allah and all of that. And what's crazy is he took a lot of what I said in that meeting and literally used it in the first script when they were talking about who a 5%er was and all of that. Like, he took down almost like he fucking jotted down everything that I said or like remembered what I said and wrote that shit down. It was crazy. And then he just took the story and just did what the fuck he wanted to do from there. Like, you know what I mean? With my character. So yeah, I figured out, I took some other shit out of life where, you know, one time I was gambling and shit and, you know, I'm rolling dice with a nigga and I ended up losing and the nigga was laughing at me and this is one of my friends, like, you know what I mean? And like, we in my crib and like, he's like, you shouldn't have bet me and, you know, teasing me and all this type of shit. And then walked out my crib and it was like $100 bet. And, you know, I had stopped hustling at this time. This was like in between like the streets and getting a record deal. And I'm like working a regular job at this time. And so $100 was like hours of work. And he just laughed at me. And this is a little younger, one of the younger gods. Like, man, I went out. I caught that nigga in the hall. I mean, the elevator had just come. If he would have took the stairs, he would have got away. Okay. But that nigga waited for the elevator with his little cocky ass. And then the shit just came. He was about to fucking open the door. Boom! I put my hand on the door. And I'm like, yo, bro. Yo, God, like, I'm gonna need that back, man. You know? And now he's like, he's shaking his shit. Cause I'm the older God. I'm known for my shit at this time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on my shit at this time, but he's shaking, but he's trying to be a man about his, like, you know what I mean? And he's like, nah, I'm not giving it back. You know what I mean? Like, I want it fair and square. And I was like, all right, so what you want to do for that? You know what I mean? Like, and I ended up whooping his ass and taking it back from him. You know what I mean? And after that, I stopped gambling because I was like, that was foul. You know what I mean? Oh, well, let me tell the full story, right? So after I took the money back, right? Because I took the bill out, you know, and I sent him on his way, sent him down the stairs, right? Then when I got in the crib, I looked, and it wasn't $100, it was a $10 bill. I got the wrong bill. So now I run downstairs and this nigga, he's gone now. You know what I mean? And I just took it as like a karmic type of thing. I was like, you know what? You deserve that type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you was a scumbag for even trying to take it back from him in the first place. But long story short, I used that little story of a nigga laughing at you during a dice game. And I used that and I just said, okay, I shot him at the end of it. You know what I mean? And so I told Tom Fontana that's how I got in there. And so that's what we used to get me up in the joint and shit. You know what I mean? And yeah, and then he took the story and just did what he wanted to do from there. So, but let me just say, you know, up until I was on there, any rapper that had been on Oz had only did 2 episodes. They never did more than 2 episodes. And I mean, LL was on there, Master P, Mad Niggas was on there. I did fucking 12 episodes. You know what I mean? Like I was a full-blown regular on the motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like it was like a season and a half type of shit that I was on there. And then after that shit just led to mad, you know, Law and Order. I did that like 3 times. I've been on Third Watch, fucking Rescue Me, Elementary, Person of Interest, fucking Sopranos, fucking The Night Of, fucking Last OG, fucking mad shit I've done off of working on Oz. Like Oz was like going to acting school for me. And if I had to say that I have an acting teacher, well, that would be Eamon Walker, the brother that played Saeed. He was the one that he took most of the black actors under his wing, you know what I mean? And made sure that motherfuckers was prepared before their scenes, especially if you had a scene with him. You know what I mean? Be ready to bring you in the dressing room and you know, rehearse and all of that type of shit. And so that when we get on there as black people, that our shit was like up to par and all that type of shit. Cause there was little racism that would exist even within the shooting shit. You know what I mean? Sometimes they would give certain white actors extra coverage. It would seem their shit was right. Whereas they'd sometimes try to rush through it. All right, come on, let's get to the next thing with the black actors. Like, you understand what I'm saying? And I saw how some of those, you know, some of the people like my man that played Adebisi and all of that, he would fight for shit like that to make sure that Like, yo, don't be trying to rush through the black people shit. You know what I mean? See what the fuck you're doing. You're making sure that these white actors get the best performance, and you're trying to rush us through our shit. Don't rush us through our shit. But we still used to practice as the black actors anyway on our own. It was some shit. It was dope. It was dope. That was my acting school. Your shit is muted right now. Can't hear you.
Oh yeah, the dog was going crazy for a minute. So going, who would I don't know, who would like the legends, you know, like I know in Mount Vernon we had like the Collin brothers, and White Plains they had the Smith brothers. Those are like the legendary dudes in the 70s that was like the cold crush to our area. Like who was the legendary DJ dudes that was like the foundation of hip hop, like out there? Who was doing like back in the days? Do you know?
In New Rochelle?
Yeah.
I mean, you know
before record shit.
You'd have to really talk to Pooh Bah because he's a little bit older than me.
Right.
But for me, you know, people like the Tray Bag MCs, and they was like one of the foundational type of groups, like, you know what I mean? Right. And shit, they used to have a white boy that DJ'd for them, like Joey Morigliano or some shit. But this white boy was, he was nasty though. He used to fuck with DST and all this type of shit. Like,
okay,
yeah, this white boy was nasty. He was nasty at fucking roller skating too. Like, he was an ill ass DJ, roller skater. Like, he was one of those white boys that was way ahead of his time. Like, he was a wigger before that was even a term. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was him, and I remember this other white boy. His name was Beef. This white boy name was Beef, and he used to wear mock necks and Swedish knits and Playboys, British Walkers, all that type of shit. He used to fucking play basketball in the projects and all this. He was the only white boy that was doing this type of shit. Like, and niggas fucked with him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, niggas fucked with him. He used to rap and all that type of shit. DJ and all this, way ahead of his time.
Any artists people don't know was from New Rochelle? Maybe they did a record or something. Maybe they just they didn't get their shine. But you know, I'm trying to mention everybody that I can mention.
My man Whit Nice. Shout out to my man Whit Nice. He made a record. Whit Nice might have been a little bit older than me. He made a record. I want to say it was called Hot Pants. I don't know if you could find it. It wasn't dope, you know what I mean? But he was from New Rochelle, and he did make a record kind of before I did. So, and then later on, he ended up hooking up with my youngest brother, which is crazy because he was older than me. But then he ended up hooking up with my younger brother, and they was like doing a little group together. He ended up doing like some spoken word shit later on. But yeah, my man Whit Nice was somebody from New Rochelle that made a record.
I can still hear you.
Okay, yeah. I can still hear you. I want to shout out DJ Mamadou. There was a female from New Rochelle. She used to DJ, if I'm not mistaken, she used to DJ for Rich and Red Pete. Fucking Mamadou. She was dope. I remember her DJing for them at the rink one time. She was another dope skater as well and shit. I was a roller skater too back then. But yeah, Mamadou, she was a DJ from back then. Who else? Murdoch. You know what I mean? That's somebody like from my era. You know what I mean? DJ Murdoch.
I had to check to see why that dog was whining like that.
my man Dav B. These are not necessarily the people I'm naming now. They're not necessarily like the ones that started shit in Nourishell, but we definitely kept it going. You know what I mean? Kept hip hop alive and made it even, you know what I mean? Even more prevalent.
Who's the young group? Who's the young group that came out after y'all? One of them niggas sound like Pooh. I swear he sound like he could be Pooh's brother.
The Rough House Soul Survivors.
Yes, that's okay. It, exactly.
Well, first of all, one of those brothers, Shaquan, that was one of my students. You know what I mean? Like, I used to have mad, you know what I mean? I used to have mad students and shit like that. And so, yeah, Shaquan was one of my students, and he was in that group. Wait, what? No. Hang on. He was in a group called Invisible Men. I'm sorry. Rough House Survived. And I think he was involved with them too somehow. I don't remember.
My cousin was
They was a little bit younger. That's what I'm saying. These were the young boys. And definitely Invisible Men was a group. Rough House Survivors. Yeah.
My cousin Wayne Robinson was in that group. I think his name was Kasim or something.
Kasim, yeah.
Wayne.
Yeah, I still fuck with Kasim right now. Kasim was on my solo album.
No, wait, Kasim is the one that's the barber, right?
Yes.
Okay, the other dude, the other one that was in the group, the light-skinned dude.
Shaquan?
Wayne. Is that his name? I don't know. It's my little cousin, so I don't know his righteous name.
Name. Where's he live now? Is he in Florida?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Was he ever in Florida?
Nah. Hold on.
Shaquan was in Florida. Maybe you're talking about the DJ?
Nah, he didn't DJ. I don't know what he did. I know he was in the group with Kasim, though. They were in the group together.
Okay.
Because he was running around with them with my tapes and stuff back in the days, like putting niggas up on my shit. Like when he was little and shit, because he would have it. But he was one of them niggas. They was the Invisible Man, then they turned into the Invisies.
Right, yeah. They used to be on some weirdo shit. Like, you know what I mean? Some of that shit was some weirdo shit. I couldn't fully co-sign it. And they DJ/producer, this little nerdy guy, man. Like, I didn't like his attitude, man. I didn't like that guy, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Keislam.
Keislam?
That's his righteous name.
Oh yeah, nah, I don't know who that is.
But he was one of the people. He was one of the members of the group, though.
Yeah, probably, but I don't. Yeah. You know, the main ones I knew was Kasim and fucking Shaquan, because those was my dudes. Like Kasim, that's another. You know what I mean? That's a student right there.
Yeah. I still talk to him sometimes.
Yeah. Shout out. I talk to him on social media. Yeah, he definitely part of.
But one of them Rough House kids sound just like Pooh, like he could be Pooh's little brother.
Well, you know, Pooh's son raps, and was one of his. I don't know if one of his brothers was rapping. I don't think one of his brothers was in the Rough House. Listen,
nah, they said the kid.
We were just influencing shit, man. They was probably just trying to sound like Pooh at the time. Like Pooh was that guy. Like how many fucking niggas from Brooklyn try to rap like Jay-Z and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? So that's what that was. Like, and the fact that, you know, we were so popular that shit, just being from Nourishell was good enough to get niggas deals like that, because I didn't remember none of these niggas was necessarily popping off, you know, in the streets of Nourishell before that. It's kind of like, we inspired niggas to like, oh shit, niggas could get deals and shit from Nourishell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so they did it, but they didn't. I feel like the quality control wasn't there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, right. Y'all want to do it, but now y'all trying to do your own little shit, and maybe you should have came to the OGs, and you know what I mean? If I would have helped you out, you'd have went a lot farther. Look at Dead Prez right now. Them niggas is legends in the hip hop game. You know what I mean?
No
Like
doubt. No
they
doubt.
legends in the game because of the shit that we did. Like, you know what I mean? Like I got tentacles in this rap shit. Like, and that's how you know that you have done some shit when you have hip hop offspring. You know what I mean? My latest offspring was fucking Stove God Cooks. You know, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but yeah, look into him. You know, and I also rediscovered this dude R.J. Payne, who a lot of people's talking about right now. Yeah,
What up with that dude that a lot of people was talking about him, but he died. He got killed. Boogie Nation or something. It was a cat out of New Rochelle.
Oh, Boogie, yeah. I don't know his music like that. You know what I mean?
I just know people was talking about him. That's all.
Yeah, I know people
Like,
that loved him, and you know what I mean.
yeah.
He seemed like he was a real cool New Rochelle dude. I ain't really hear his music like that.
I didn't get a chance because they were trying to get, every now and then somebody who know me be like, yo, you got to do something on this kid. I don't really do a lot of music in Black Westchester. You know what I'm saying? I'm music.
Right.
When I can. But for a year before he died, they were pushing, and I never really checked it out. And then he died, and I was like, damn, I really didn't get a chance to chop it up with this cat when I had a chance to. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame.
Sometimes.
I don't. Yeah, I never got a chance to meet him. I don't think.
Is there anything I don't want to? I know your time is valuable. I mean, I love talking hip hop, so I can talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
But is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to make sure I know about? Either you as an artist, as brand Nubians, or that you want to make sure that I capture.
I'm just trying to keep it Westchester. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah,
Westchester.
Definitely Westchester.
Westchester information. So they're building up the boys club, and we're getting ready to have like a big ass mural on the side of the boys club in
word?
In New Rochelle, yeah, like it's gonna be facing Lincoln Park and shit, and they're using the.
I was part of the press conference when that developer, they were trying to get some black press because you know what I'm saying,
right?
And I think the developers who building that big building, part of the deal was they had to redo the boys club. You know what I'm saying? And yes, exactly. I was part of the whole press conference and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So
but they didn't tell me the brand new. They didn't tell me the mural thing.
I think there's one part on the parking structure and that faces the park. There's going to be a big part where it's going to have like our pictures from Foundation, like those block pictures of us on Foundation.
Right.
It's not going to necessarily be in the same order that it is on the album, but it's going to be those portraits in different blocks.
Oh, that's what's up.
Each one of us, yeah.
That's what's up.
And what else?
Y'all still talk? I mean, y'all still kick it like
North Carolina. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, we talk when it's time to do shows and shit like that. People get older, man, and just start to do their own thing, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, that used to be my roommate at once when we had to share rooms and shit like that. You know what I mean?
But y'all was thick as thieves at one time. Y'all couldn't see one without the other at one point.
You said what?
I said y'all was like you didn't see one without the other at some point at one point.
For real. Like, yeah, that was my dude for a minute. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, he went off to, do his own thing ever since the solo shit, and it was just kind of shit just was different ever since then. You know what I mean?
I really, he got such a distinctive voice that I wish he had more success commercially, actually. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's had underground joints and like he's loved everywhere in the underground, but it's just like, this is kind of like that section in the Source, under the radar. Like, it just never gets there.
Right.
Ralph McDaniels, I talked to Ralph McDaniels, and he was telling me about his favorite videos, for the book, for Westchester. And he said his favorite voice in hip hop is Sadat. His favorite voice in hip hop is Sadat.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, and what's crazy is when I met him, he had that voice. At like 15, he had that voice.
Wow.
It was like, oh shit. Like, wow, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's some shit right there.
I'll listen to some underground shit that nobody ever heard of, and all of a sudden I hear this voice come out of it. I'll be like, "Oh shit!" So that's on that. Like, you know, then I go listen to what the song is, and who else is on it. So,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like he's definitely giving away some of his best shit. That's, you know, and I just feel like when he was doing some of his solo shit, you know, he's the type, he needs a little guidance. Like, you know, X is not the best at coming up with the concept or coming up with the hooks and all that type of shit. Like, if he would have just asked for a little help and stopped trying to do the, you know, everything by himself, maybe he could have went a little farther solo. You know what I mean?
I see he keeps putting stuff out. I was trying to do at the end of the book like a discography of Westchester stuff, and it's just like, yo, this dude.
Right, he won't stop. Right, he just keeps going.
And it'd be like, I'm looking up and it's like this label I never heard of, and then something else, and this label I never heard of, and it's like, yo, I'm like,
I don't like it.
He stayed consistent.
I don't like it. You look at me, I have one solo album, the 5% album. And it's just super strong, man. Like, pound for pound. I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased, but I feel like it's probably the best solo work that's been put out. But by a Nubian member, but that's just me. You know? Kuba had some good songs on his first joint, but the whole album wasn't solid, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, which is why we had room to do what we did within God We Trust. You know what I mean? And that was an argument amongst people as to whose album was better at that time. And
I remember.
Yeah, I heard that Pete Rock was up at the label arguing with Dante Ross, saying that our album was better. So that's what Pete Rock said. I'm just saying. I didn't say it. Pete Rock said that. So, you know.
Yeah, I just reached out to him. He one of the next people I'm trying to hit real quick. Pete.
Yeah. But nah, I'm just saying, I don't know if you've listened to my solo album, but if you haven't, trust me.
I did when it came out, because I had to.
Oh yeah, you had to, right? And did you read the book and all of that type of shit?
I had to be able to talk to you about lyrics on it and stuff like that.
There you go. Okay, so there you go. Yeah. All
right. But to ask me today if I remember everything, no. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just I probably forgot more about hip hop.
It definitely was ahead of its time, like beat wise and all of that type of shit. You'd be like, damn, they're kind of doing shit like that now. Some of them joints with the natural loops and shit like that without a bunch of drums and all that type of shit. Like that shit they're doing right now.
Well, I made up my mind that I was going to re-listen to it after I talked to you. So I had this conversation with you. Now I'm going to re-listen to it like in the now time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
trust me, it holds up very well. Holds up very well. And I didn't produce everything on there, but I produced a lot of shit on there, and just the whole concept of it, and the way, and Qasim is on there, and just the way I put it together is just.
I wrote some real dope shit about it for whatever little hip hop magazine that's not around no more that I was writing for.
Right. We can't find it on the web no more. Hey, I believe
because the magazines we was writing for back then, they not even on the web. They didn't have no websites.
Right.
I'll be looking for old articles. They not on websites. Like they not.
And they didn't.
Case in point,
digital.
I interviewed you for a website called 30 Plus Hip Hop, and I was looking for the website's not up no more. So the interview's nowhere on. That interview is nowhere online. Like
that's crazy.
And I'm like, it was a dope ass interview. Like, yeah. So anyway,
well, I hope this was a dope one. I hope you guys.
I enjoyed myself. Like, dude, like I said, it's hip hop. I could talk to you forever, but I need to focus on some other shit too. So, Yo, but you got my number. Like, feel free if you ever need to reach out to me for anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got my number. So, and if I ever have a follow-up question or two, I'll let you know. I'm trying to get the book out in the fall. So,
All right. Well,
got a lot of work to do from now to then. But,
yeah, well, congratulations on that, and keep that shit going, man.
It's like a really big puzzle. I'm just putting the pieces in little by little until it starts formulating into what it's going to formulate, and I'm trying to let it go where it's going to go. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but that's
what else are you doing with this black? So you said the Black Westchester is
it's my newspaper.
It's your newspaper.
It's a newspaper and a website.
And you have a lot of so through having a newspaper and a website, you got a lot of email addresses and contact number things that we're storing a database.
So okay, for real talk, I was never into the politics shit, but I've always been a hustler.
Right.
My partner was into that, and he was telling me about this. I was living in Atlanta. My mom's got stage 4 cancer. I came back up here 2014 to take care of her. My dude hits me that I had a music company with. Now he's all political and doing all that stuff. Yo, dude, I learned just like I got thrown in the water and I learned. Yo, now I got congressmen on speed dial, dude.
Right.
I got the county executive changing bills, vetoing bills because we say it's a bad bill. Like, I'm serious.
Right.
I helped the former district attorney who wasn't doing shit for black people get fired, and helped the new district attorney get in. Like, I'm doing shit like that now, like, which is kind of crazy for me to even say.
Now, how do you turn this into funding for yourself? You know what I mean?
Advertising pays for the stuff, but when I put out my books, see, now I'm starting to put out my books and do speaking engagements and stuff. That stuff is starting to come. That's all money for me.
See, you know when I hear Black Westchester, I hear all the black professionals that live in Westchester and all that type of shit, that want to click up and all that type of shit. We're
more the radical. We're more.
Yeah.
Some of them people are scared of us. Some of them people are scared of us because we.
Well, you know what? You could be throwing functions under the Black Westchester name that helps to bring in these political type and these bougie, because first of all, they might not even fully know what the shit is all about.
Well, let's put it this way. Any of them that has ever fucked up and did some shit that they weren't supposed to do and took advantage of the people, I got all up in their ass.
Right.
Cops have lost jobs because of me, and people have gotten out of jail because of me. So
nice.
Like, I'm serious. I got a couple of New Rochelle. I got at least 1 or 2 New Rochelle officers suspended. Yonkers, Eastchester, got 2 Yonkers cops indicted.
Nice.
Eastchester, and this brother that was wrongfully incarcerated served 4 years. He got out and got exonerated. And every year on the anniversary, he said if it wasn't for us, he'd still be in jail. So
I feel like you could be doing fundraisers and just the name Black Westchester just has a cachet to it. I'm telling you, bro.
No, I got you.
It's bigger than the newspaper part, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the point now.
Sounds like some fancy shit that the Black Westchester, is having their annual fucking event, and people got to pay money to come to this dinner and all that.
That's what we get ready to do. No, that's what we get ready to do.
So you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's the type. That's like when I hear Black Westchester. Yeah. That's what it's like people want to see Black Westchester. So what does Black Westchester look like? And so now the affluent Black Westchester, we know Black Westchester looks like all shapes and sizes, you understand? Right. And all economies, but we can use the bougie Black Westchester to finance certain programs and shit like that. And if we have certain functions for them to come out to where they can shine, and that lady could put on a nice dress and this man could put on his suit and and say they gave some money to some shit, and we shame some motherfuckers into giving money and all this type of shit. I just went to one of these motherfuckers for, my wife is all up in this Hampton University. My daughter went to Hampton. Her sister went to Hampton. My niece go to, they all just graduated. My daughter works at Hampton right now. So just went to some Hampton fundraiser type of shit. And trust me, Black Westchester, it just sounds like one of those type of.
So real talk. You know how you start some shit and you don't know what you have?
Yes.
And you don't know what you're doing and you don't know the rules, but you break all the rules because you didn't know there was rules and
right.
shit.
And you learn them out on the way.
That's kind of what it is. And I'm kind of like a one-man show doing it all by myself. So there's so much stuff I want to do that I haven't had a chance to do. But now at this point, we've made enough noise where any of those things you're talking about, I can do.
Right.
Now it's a matter of now trying to monetize all this shit and make this shit happen.
Right. Well, if I can be of service in any kind of way to help make that come to fruition, just, I definitely love to be down with some Westchester shit, especially, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, that's where I grew up at, man.
Yeah, so we just filled the void and we informing the hood on shit that they never been informed on and their rights and fighting for people that can't fight for themselves and shit like that. Like, just like crazy shit like that.
Right. And these motherfuckers want to act like they woke, right?
So I got these woke white people. I got my woke
right,
white
and we get the woke whites, the woke blacks. You know what I mean? Like, because Black Westchester don't just mean, hey.
Well, we
get down too now.
We coming on our 9-year anniversary, and now I'm trying to figure out what we gonna do with this. Like,
well, I'm telling you, that's the type of shit that you need to, you know what I mean?
But a fundraiser, a big anniversary fundraiser, is definitely on the agenda. So we're putting it together this year.
And then decide, where the fund's going exactly, and all of that. Right. On top of that, but still, there's still money to be made on top of funds.
Absolutely
used, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So one of my partners set up a not-for-profit. So for those things that you have to be a not-for-profit to get those kind of funds, it'll go through there. So we trying to line everything up right now. So
right.
But this year ain't nothing free in 2023. That I spoke everywhere for free in the last couple of years. They paying me to come out and speak now.
There you go.
They telling me bring my book when I come, and I'm selling books when I'm, you know what I'm saying? And
that's what's up.
And I did some shit like, the rapper, the MC in me. So I got a new book. I put it out myself. Nobody ever heard of it. So I'm like, yo, you know what? It'd be dope to do this at libraries. So I made a library tour. Like Osnan and Katona and places I ain't never really hung out at. And Scarsdale, I was in killed all those libraries. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I just started some shit that ain't nobody ever heard of, a library tour. Like, I'm doing the equivalent of selling it out the trunk right now. So, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, that's what's up.
So, I ain't saying I'm balling out of control, but
And the name of the book is Black Westchester?
Huh?
The name of the book is Black Westchester?
No, so I wrote a book about, the first book was called Black Westchester, the origin story, like some superhero shit. And it just tells you the story of how we got together and the early days of the shit, kind of like my memoir, kind of, sort of. Then I flipped it with all these women rising in office and getting all these positions. I did Black Westchester celebrates Black women of Westchester, celebrating the achievement of Black women in Westchester. And I released it in time for Black History Month and then Women's History Month. And I stayed busy. I couldn't stop being places. The women ate that shit up and keep inviting me to all their organizations and stuff to sell this book. So that's the one that's out now. Then I was like, this hip hop book. Well, first, when I can get back to my hip hop roots is always a good thing. But this will be the first book you don't have to live in Westchester to appreciate. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody knows y'all. Everybody knows Heb. Everybody knows DMX. You don't have to live in Westchester. You can be in Cali, and you know what I'm saying. And then,
right, but make sure that you put esoteric things that only people from Westchester would know too.
Well, I have the early graffiti dudes. Like there's a graffiti crews that came up in Westchester hip hop. There's the old legendary DJs. There's a lot of Westchester only shit in there. Yes, there's gonna be a lot of West. You got some shit that only really Westchester gonna understand. But
like Wheels, talk about
to
Wheels.
make it, but to make it,
in Yonkers. Who? Remember Wheels in Yonkers, the roller skating rink? Wheels?
Yes. Or like Arthur's in Yonkers.
Authors in Yonkers, but Wheels, that's where I first seen like Roxanne Shante and all that type of shit perform and all that. You know what I mean? Like when the single first came out type of shit. Like, so I seen a lot of hip hop up in that spot. Like, you know what I mean? So you got to talk about Wheels, got to talk about School 12, Authors, Brown Eyes. These is all like a lot of fucking Remington Boys Club, of course. Fucking the Palace in New Rochelle. Damn, what was the Mount Vernon shit? I forget the name of this shit. Oh, what's the shit on 241st? Galaxy 2000?
Yeah.
Ooh, Galaxy 2000.
That's when I was in high school. It was supposed to be.
I remember fucking I seen Eddie F in front of Galaxy 2000 and I asked him to battle or some shit like that. Like, you know, I was like thinking in my mind, fuck this dude. Like, I'm better than him. He just got better equipment. He just got more money and shit. Like, hey, you want to battle? He didn't pay me no fucking mind. And shit.
I saw all the old school shit in the Galaxy, like the Fearless 4, the Funky 4, the Treacherous 3, the Cold Crush 4, like all that shit I used to see in the Galaxy all the time when I was in high school. I was actually too young to get in the club. I'm 16 and 15 and I had a little bit of hair on my face and I looked like I was old enough. So I was like, they never questioned me. You just look the part and walk in. I mean, you pay. You was good most of the time. Them real young looking or immature looking, you know.
Yeah, 241st was almost like Westchester, like, you know what I mean?
Well, I live on 4th. I lived on 11th Avenue, which is the borderline of Money Lane, is the borderline of Mount Vernon in the Bronx, near the corner of 4th Street where it turns into 241st Street. So, I mean, that was like walking distance from my house, like when I was in high school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And actually, that's what I think made Mount Vernon always a little bit iller, is their fucking connection to the Bronx.
Right.
Like,
and then
I always just felt like
the other side, Fifth Avenue, runs into Dyer Avenue for the number 2
exactly.
5 train. Yeah.
So the fact that they can get to either train walking distance, it was just like beautiful. And I was like, but that also, you know, connected niggas to more crime and just more like grimy shit. Like, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the night, we 241st, now we got to still take a cab or we had to walk to the Mount Vernon train station and shit, like to the Metro North, and that shit ain't start running till a certain time and all of that type of shit. So it's like, if you was from New Rochelle, you had to, like, if you was gonna be out all night, you got to be out all night. You know what I mean? Like, especially as a youth, because that cab wasn't cheap, man. A cab from 241st to New Rochelle, man, I forget how much that shit was, man, but that shit wasn't cheap. After spending the night, you know what I mean, the Latin quarters and all that, and man, you got your girl and all this other shit, man. Now, man, you trying to smoke weed and have coke and all kind of shit back then.
We get off the train and walk home. Yeah,
man. Crazy.
If we was balling, we take a cab, and I mean, it's like no money because it's right there. Like, you know,
see, we used to go to my man,
to, like, walk up, like, you know.
We used to go right in the projects in Mount Vernon. That was walking distance.
Word up. Yeah, let me go. Let me let you go, but you got my number. I'm gonna keep in touch with you. I'm gonna let you know what's going on, and when I get closer to the book, you know what I'm saying. If I have any follow up particular questions, I'll definitely let you know.
All right, no doubt. Let's
doubt. But it's a
putting this
pleasure, my
Black
brother.
Westchester Gala shit together, man. I'm telling you, man.
Absolutely.
Like that's some money right there, man.
When we do, I will let you know.
Yes, sir. All right, brother.
All right, peace.
Peace.